Um, it's so cold in South Africa, man. Oof, it's so cold. So I'm going to basically cover this particular topic mainly because I'm the only, or rather, the only MMA YouTuber that I know about. Maybe I'm wrong. I actually think I'm probably wrong. I think I've seen Cameron Simon having like a channel, but I don't know if he covers MMA. Um, he doesn't show up a lot on my timeline, so maybe it's because of the kind of things I watch. Some of the things that he does are in his language, so I don't know if there are people who actually tune in and watch that particular stream, but um, anyway, so I generally wanted to address this particular topic mainly because it comes up on my streams when I'm doing MMA streams specifically, right? So, Renier, there is lot. UFC Africa would be cool, but not many prospects to put on the card for a pay per view. Renier, there is lot. Drake could be a good headliner. Yeah, I fully 100% agree. Um, but I don't think that's the problem. Dana White has basically said that he like the prospect of UFC Africa is not possible because of arenas apparently, and South Africa has amazing arenas. Even closed ones. You have the Coca-Cola Dome, even though it's no longer called the Coca-Cola Dome. It was sold, as far as I know. But there's so many stadiums that have the ability to actually close. So that's not like the main reason. The main reason I think it's because of this whole genocide issue that has been starting, or rather that has been happening, and I genuinely think that's the main reason behind it not happening. It has nothing to do with Africa or rather South Africa not having the capacity to actually hold um, a UFC event. And even some of the things that Dana White was saying were kind of on the border of of racism in a sense because he was talking about bugs and humidity. Okay, humidity I can get it, but Saudi Arabia is hotter than South Africa ever will be. So what does he mean humidity? If his fighters can fight in Saudi Arabia, then they can definitely fight in Africa. So it's kind of weird to have heard him say that, but I was like, you know what, that's a different story. But on today's stream, I generally want to um, basically dive into whether or not this whole thing of a genocide actually exists, because I actually didn't think it would become such a big deal, man. Renee, there is lot. Climate doesn't matter for fights. I mean that was Dana White's reasoning. Let me actually check. I actually tried to get um, but again, what do you call it? Quotes from Dana White. I think he said UFC Africa is on hold due to logistical issues. This was at the October 2024 presser. He said arena issues or whatever the case is. I can go on and further, but there's so many, what do you call it, videos on the internet that you can easily find. But he was basically saying he cannot, like, he's placing it on hold mainly because the logistics are unrealistic. Like, I hate to say this about Dana White, but he sounds so much like Trump. It makes sense why they're friends, to be honest. And nothing against Trump, but I just feel like he should do a little bit more research about topics before making any decision or acting on any particular information that he receives. I mean, you are the president of probably one of the most powerful, not even probably, he's a president of probably the most powerful country on the planet. Um, and he doesn't necessarily take the time to actually do enough research about important topics that affect um, a huge number of people, right? Rene Derislo, then Dana proceeds to book a card for a location, 9,999 feet in the air at altitude wise. Yeah, so that's why I'm like the logistics are not a problem. There are so many places they can use in South Africa, whether it's closed arena or open, and even like for example, there are stadiums in Durban, I think, that can actually accommodate like a closed arena. But let me move on from basically what Dana White was saying. I just feel like the reason UFC Africa is not happening is mainly because um, his relationship with Donald Trump. And obviously, if Donald Trump and Elon Musk are busy saying, well, there's a genocide in South Africa, obviously they're not going to come here. And I mean, obviously, that's a friendship thing. I can't really be too mad at that. They're being loyal friends, I guess. But I just wish they would do a little bit more research before making such um, crazy claims of genocide. So let me actually get to the stats, right? Let's start with the murder or death stats in Africa from 2019 up until 2024. So total homicide between April 2019 to March 2020. Um, Rene de Rizlard, our EFF left wing. I don't know what does left wing mean. Left wing means pro homosexuality, feminism. I don't know. I don't know the difference. Obviously, left and right wing are American terms. What are their political beliefs? I think it'll make it easier for me to actually answer that question. Renee Dereslot, maybe that's why Trump doesn't like them. Yeah, I think maybe try elaborate a little bit on what's left and right wing. I've heard those words a lot, but I don't. I think I have a general understanding, just that they confuse me. The left are basically liberals, and then the right are conservatives, right? Like conservatives meaning they want the things like, for example, they are founded or rather they are based on religion. Are they socialists? It's kind of difficult to actually say, but what I can say is that I would think, yeah, they might be a bit left in a sense. I think I would say they are left because they are pro some of the things that the left wing doesn't mean woke. You can be far left. Okay, that's honestly confusing. Let me just do the statistics. I just want to address this thing of genocide. So total homicides in South Africa 21,325 between April 2019 and March 2020. It rose to 25,000 in 2021, 27,494 in April between April 2022 and March 2023, right? And the national murder victims are overwhelmingly majority black, poor young males. So it's poor black guys who are dying. Farm murders, right? This is the main topic of on everyone's mouth. So farm murders, 51 deaths on farms, including workers, between April 2022 and March 2023. So this makes up 0.2% of the total murders. 12 farm, but again, 12 farm linked murders in 2024 is one farmer plus 11 others. Victims include both white and black. Um, so for me personally, and the nice thing about statistics is you don't have to take my opinion. You can just look it up on the internet, right? It's not a difficult thing to actually research and check for yourself. Big black monkey man. Okay, of course I would expect you to appear on such a stream. Um, Wealth disparities, like this now is not about just murders. We're going to the next step. Wealth disparities by race. Um, Land ownership. White South Africans, they make up 7% of the population, and they hold 72% of privately owned land, and 80% of commercial farmland is owned by white farmers, right? Um, I'll try to elaborate a little bit before I go on to the next step. Income, as far as who, like, as far as like obviously middle class, who's earning what and stuff like that. So 2023 average annual household income, white-headed, earn about the 672, or rather 676,375 per annum, which is white-headed households. And in American dollars, that's, I don't know, how much is it? About around maybe 50, 40, 40 something thousand, 50 something thousand dollars, I think, per annum, I think. And then Indian is 417,431 rands. In American dollars, that's like maybe, I don't know, 35, yeah, 35,000, I guess, $1,000 somewhere there. And then coloreds in South Africa, they refer to coloreds as um, basically mixed race in South Africa. They prefer, it's not like they are being oppressed or whatever the case is, they call themselves coloreds. So coloreds in South Africa earn at number three as far as household incomes at 260,816 rands. In American dollars, that's like maybe, I don't know, about $15,000, somewhere there. And let me see. We come to black South Africans, or rather black Africans. The average is 143 thousand. Yeah, 143,000 dollars, 632 rands, right? And in South Africa, in American dollars, that's like maybe around $8,000, somewhere to that effect. So that's the income, right? Now, but like the white-headed households earn probably about four times more as the black household at this particular point. And keep in mind, these are the minority in the country. Unemployment rates in 2024, blacks make up 37.6% of the unemployed people in South Africa. The colored make up 23.3%, and the white make up 7.9%. So out of 100% of white people living in South Africa, only 7.9% of them are unemployed versus 37.6% of unemployed black people, right? Education slash tertiary, gross enrollment in 2021, African 23%, colored 16%, Indian 44%, whites 48%. Obviously, some people might say, well, that has nothing to do with wealth, but I've been having this argument with a couple of people, and I've been making the argument that if you come from a household that's so horribly in poverty, are you going to choose to say, I'm going to read books up until I eventually somehow go to university, even though I don't know how I'm going to pay for it, and I'm going to graduate and hope to find a job somehow, even though I'm not sure about the prospects of a job? Or are you going to say, you know what, F school, I'm going to find a way to actually succeed? Sometimes it's not good and sometimes it's good, right? And that's why South Africa has such a high crime rate, right? But I think that the living conditions influence like a person's decision as far as education or whatever direction they take. right? So this is extremely relevant to this particular topic. So we are done with the wealth element of it. And then let's get into the constitution, because there's this thing, and even when you look at the meeting that Donald Trump had with that Donald Trump had with the South African president Cyril Ramaphosa, um, they made it sound like South Africa is doing something illegal, right? So, Section 25 of the Constitution of South Africa states that property may be expropriated only for public purposes or in the public interest and subject to compensation, the amount of which have either been agreed to by those affected or decided or approved by a court. Compensation must be just and equitable, reflecting an equitable balance between the public interest and the interest of those affected. So this is the constitution. Just like every other country, I don't know how every other country functions, but I think even in the United States, the Constitution is the highest authority of law in the United States. There's nothing higher than that. So everything inconsistent with the Constitution is unlawful, right? This is in the Constitution. Expropriation of land is in the Constitution. It's not like someone came from nowhere with something that doesn't exist. It's something that was decided when apartheid ended in 1994. Somewhere there, the specific dates are not necessarily important. So this is in the Constitution. What these people, the so-called genocide, basically, the people who are crying about genocide, like I mentioned a bit earlier on, like the people who the farm workers who die are not even crossing 100. Like they're less than even 100 in one calendar year. So for me personally, it's kind of crazy to hear that there's a genocide, the people are dying, when nothing like that is happening. If anything, there are black people dying and no one gives a crap about them, you know? And even statistically speaking, poor black young men are the ones who are dying, not white people. Like we're talking about statistics. So are they saying when they die, somehow South Africa does not record their statistics? Is that what they say? To them, any white farmer dying of unnatural causes is genocide, I guess, to them. You know, because it doesn't exist, man. I've been having this argument with a variety of different people, and it's crazy to me that it got to this point. I heard this narrative a while ago. Even Dricus Duplessis actually said something to like some crazy things like that early in his career. I'm sure you can find that clip. I think he was being interviewed by Nina Drama, if I'm not mistaken. I think Nina Drama was asking him about it was like some kind of quiz where what are the things that like people in America don't know about South Africa or something like that. And Dricus Duplessis was talking about genocide. And I just read you guys the statistics. Statistics say they don't even cross 100 people dying. Like there are not, or rather farm workers, or rather farmers, like farm workers specifically and farm owners, in one calendar year they don't surpass 100. Or rather, at the very least, they are not killed. More than 100 are not killed in one year. Maybe they die of other causes, but as far as specifically killing, they don't even cross 100 of them dying in one calendar year. So it's crazy for me to actually even think or hear stories and people like Dricus Duplessis. But I mean, what would you expect? I mean, he's also an Afrikaner, so he will obviously champion that kind of mentality. And that mentality is meant to put pressure on the government to not execute the law. Basically, that's all it is. So basically, what they just did right now is it's a global topic right now, and the South African president and probably government will now be a little bit more reluctant to actually execute the law. I just read the section 25 of the Constitution. You don't have to listen to what I'm saying. Go to Google search for the South African Constitution, read section 29, 25 of the Constitution. It'll tell you it's a legal thing, it's part of the Constitution of South Africa. But what they are doing, the reason they are crying genocide is because this law has recently been passed. Legislation is separate from constitution, right? Constitution is like the supreme law in the country. Legislation is made in order to give effect to the constitution. How can I simplify what I just said? Um, I'm a candidate attorney, by the way. For those who don't know, those who are new to my channel, I'm a candidate attorney. So, yeah. So, how can I simplify it? So, imagine your parents give you rules that you have to abide by, right? And then you decide to act on those rules in a specific way to give effect to them. Let's say, for example, they say, make sure that the house is clean. And then you take a decision, or okay, I'm going to clean, or I'm going to tell my brother to wash the dishes, and I'm going to tell my brother to do this. That's basically what the president was doing. South Africa is divided into three different spheres of power, essentially. So it's the executive, which is the president who executes the law, basically. It's the legislature, who basically enact the law, and it's the judiciary, which is us, the legal practitioners, the judges, the magistrates, lawyers, paralegal, like every single aspect. So what the judiciary does is they interpret the law that is enacted by the legislature, and the president basically executes it, right? So obviously also he signs into law the laws that are created by the legislature. So for us as the judiciary, meaning lawyers and judges and magistrates, if we feel like what the president did was unconstitutional, let's say for example the law that the legislature and the president basically enacted into law, if for example it was unconstitutional, then you have the right to take the president to the constitutional court and challenge the legality of the law that has been passed. And there have been numerous laws that have been challenged and that have been abolished or removed from the South African legal system. If you can prove that a law is unconstitutional, then it's easy for it to be removed. The problem is that they can't challenge its constitutionality because the law that the president enacted or put into law is consistent with the constitution. And now what they're doing, they're resorting to basically lying, and obviously Trump is not doing any sort of research to actually see if this is accurate or not. And he's going off of what other people are saying without doing any proper research. And as a result, we get to a point whereby the president of South Africa, obviously he is reliant on a lot of things. I think he mentioned them on what do you he mentioned them on a lot of on the meeting that they had. I think it was yesterday. He mentioned a lot of the things that USA does for South Africa. So obviously, if you're dependent, even if it's not wholly, but the part of your economy is dependent on a specific country, you won't go there to piss them off, right? So obviously, by doing what they're doing, these white boys who own the majority of the wealth and the majority of the land are basically trying to put public pressure on the president to not execute something which is constitutionally legal, right? So that's the main purpose. Because all this cry, to be honest, the cry for genocide started a while ago. Like it's a victim mentality that this group of people have. That oh my God, maybe it's because they are genes. Maybe I don't know. When they mix with other people, normally the other genes. For example, when a white person and a black person has a child, the genes that are going to be a little bit stronger are going to be the black genes, basically. So to them, that's what they are seeing as genocide. So, but they can't say, oh, it's interracial relationships. So they are going to point out to things that honestly do not exist. That's why they can't be substantiated with facts. You can try to Google, like, that's why I try to make sure that I create this kind of video in order to give you guys the statistics, just to avoid being asked about this particular topic on my live streams and all these type of things. So next time when someone asks me a question about this particular topic, I'll just tell them I did a live stream. Go check on the live section. I gave you my opinion on that particular topic. So in a nutshell, the main reason why these people are doing what they're doing is because they can't challenge it in the constitution, in the constitutional court, because what the president was doing is a constitutionally protected act, right? So because they can't challenge it in the constitutional court, what they're doing is now trying to use public pressure. And after so much of the world knows about this particular topic, obviously the president is going to be reluctant to actually start expropriating the land, which was the initial purpose of this. And another reason, obviously, is because South Africa took Israel to the ICC for genocide, basically. And obviously, Israel is heavily reliant on, is a close ally with the United States. So obviously, the United States does not like the fact that South Africa took Israel to the ICC, right? So obviously, this is also another way. It's in a sense, it's a retaliation. So yeah, I'm sorry to be talking about this particular topic on an MMA channel, but obviously I'm South African. I have to highlight certain topics, especially if they are so global. They affect so many different people. So let me respond to you, Rene. Let me see. Tagamura says, I'm sorry. Rene, there is law. 30 to 60K is average salary in 30 to 60K is average salary in the UK. Yeah, it just shows because South Africa obviously is still behind. In a sense, obviously we have millionaires, but we're talking about the majority of people. How much does the majority of people earn? I mean, and obviously things won't be as expensive because of that. So, for example, I would assume that's why in the United Kingdom you guys probably have to pay for pay-per-view, whereas in South Africa we don't necessarily have to pay for. We pay a once-off amount for everything. So we can see WWE pay-per-views, we can see UFC pay-per-views for the same amount on a monthly basis. And the amount I'm talking about in South Africa, the amount is, let me see, $500. I'm around $20, $30. For $20 to $30, we get WWE pay-per-views and UFC pay-per-views and fight nights and like normal viewing. So we don't pay extra for that. And for all of that, both WWE, among other programs, not just sporting programs, but among other programs, we get all of that for like $20 to $30 per month, and which is not too bad. Is it $30? Yeah, around $20 to $30, somewhere there. I'd say $30 to 40, not 20. Yeah, $30 to $40, which is not too bad because we get more for that particular amount. So, of course, because of that, our living conditions are not necessarily going to be the same. So, for example, what the cost of living is probably high in the United Kingdom, and that's why the average salary is that high. But, for example, someone who earns that amount in the UK will probably have will probably be able to afford the same things as a South African, in my opinion, I think. Because in South Africa, if you earn around the amount that I told you, which is over 500,000, then you can afford to buy, like, I don't know, like proper cars, like your Mercedes C63, like premium Mercedes cars, and even maybe save up for a supercar like a Porsche. Maybe if you earn like 600,000, maybe, I mean, you can save up around, maybe, I don't know, 100 or 200,000 per month, and you can afford to actually save up for a supercar. So, which is still a decent amount, because the cost of living, even though it's rising in South Africa, it's not that high. I wouldn't compare the cost of living in South Africa, with the cost of living in the United Kingdom. So I'm sure things are more expensive to you guys in the United Kingdom. So even if you earn more, you probably get the same amount of things that we do, even though the amount is so different. But yeah, basically, that's the gist of it. Baron, track baby girl, I'm in jail. I don't have too much time. Okay. Renee, there is Lord. People say that without the white farmers, that South Africa wouldn't have much food and there would be shortages. What is your opinion on this statement? I think we live in a time whereby, I don't know, man. Why would anyone even believe that? Because the majority of the people who work the farmlands are black people. I mean, farmers are basically owners, and obviously maybe you could say that they their instructions are basically, um, what keeps the farms going. But do you know how many agricultural, graduates we have in South Africa? Like, I'm not a president, but if like a specific group of farmers, or rather all the farmers, decide we are leaving South Africa, then you take everyone who studied, agriculture and has some type of an experience in that particular field, you partner them with the farm workers, and you make them work together in order to make sure that the production of crops and fruits and everything like that continues to be, planted and sold. Like, it doesn't make sense to me for them to think that somehow we are so unskilled that we won't be able to survive with them. That's one of the things that I'm talking about. Like, just listen to the things that they're saying. It's not that difficult. If you told me that farm work is only done by, white people, like even the day-to-day farm work, then I would be like, yeah, what you're saying is actually true, because these people know the farm work from the ground up until the top. Like, there's no black person in that particular industry. But that's not true. Like, the field workers, the majority of farm field workers are black. All you have to do is just find someone who went to school for agriculture, partner them with someone who has been working the farmlands, and then they can actually run that particular farm very easily. I mean, they have the education to do that. All they need is the experience of the field worker, and then they're going to excel. It's kind of like saying, well, what if all the lawyers in South Africa leave and we're left with paralegals? You just take law graduates and you partner them with paralegals, and then the paralegals will teach the lawyers some of the things so that they can grasp the concepts of the law a little bit quicker, and then they can graduate and become attorneys. Like, that's how easy it is. Paralegals, usually people who are at the bottom of a specific industry, know a little bit more about the day-to-day runnings of a specific industry than the people at the top. That's why a lot of companies end up even falling, because they are so out of touch with a lot of the things that are happening on the ground. So for me personally, I think that's a crazy and a stupid statement. Like the example I just made is an incredibly important one. Like, let's say, for example, someone who owns a supermarket decides, you know what, I'm leaving the supermarket. They will see how they run it. You just take someone who studied business management, and then you pair them up with someone from who's been managing a store, and then you pair them up. The store manager can teach the business management graduate some of the things of how a supermarket works, and then after a bit of time, the business management graduate will have an idea of how to run a supermarket, and they can continue and actually have now create business strategies for the growth of that particular supermarket. Like it's so stupid that anyone would ever think that yeah, without white people, agriculture will fall unless they do something to the lands. Like unless they poison the farmlands, then obviously that's gonna be a problem. But once again, that's gonna be another issue now. But that idea is honestly stupid. Like I heard it on the debate with between Trump and Cyril Ramaphosa, and that wasn't even a debate. It was just a Trump being angry and a couple of rich people being upset that they are being questioned about or rather they are being told a portion of the land they own is going to constitutionally be taken, and they are going to be compensated for that. And they didn't like that, so they cried to Trump, and Trump was like, "No, I'll cry with you." You know, that's basically what happened. And now the world is putting pressure on South Africa to not do what the Constitution is saying we should be doing. It's insane. And they are calling that genocide. It's, Rene the Lord, greatest ally. Yeah, they are the greatest ally. That's why they are allowed to do whatever they want to do, to be honest. Renee, there is Lord. I don't ever pay for pay per view. I illegally stream. I hope Dana doesn't read this. But as far as I know, I don't think I would have to research. This is not legal advice, but you can check it. You can search on Google or whatever the case is. I think the criminal are the people who are streaming, who are making the streams available to the general public, as far as I know. But the person who's consuming it is not the criminal. Dana cannot arrest you for watching something that you didn't pay for. The people that they're supposed to be arresting are the people who are actually making that stream available to everyone to watch for free. Those are the people who are going to be arrested, not the viewer. It's the streamer who basically somehow manages to stream those particular fights for free to everyone. So you as an I'd have to check South African laws, but I haven't researched enough about that. But I think I saw some law that basically said that usually the person who's viewing it, even though how it's presented, it's made to seem like if you watch the stream illegally, you are also committing a crime. No, I mean you have to fact check this. Don't take what I'm saying as advice. But as far as I know, consuming free or illegally streamed streams is not necessarily a crime. The person who's providing the illegal stream is the one who's committing a crime, not the person who's consuming it. As far as I can recall, obviously I need to do a little bit more research on this, so this is not legal advice. Go do your own research, and I don't think it's going to be difficult. Just get on Google and just check. For is it illegal for someone who's watching? Who is it? Who like is it a crime basically? I don't think it's a crime. I'll try to check actually, and maybe make a stream on that particular topic or a video on that particular topic. But I don't think it's a crime, to be honest. Um, I don't want to say things and then I'm wrong. But so once again, double check what I'm saying. But once again, the person providing the free stream is the one who's a criminal, right? The person watching the free stream, it only becomes a crime if you start sharing. Like for example, Rainier the Riz Lord. If you are watching the free stream and then maybe you stream it on YouTube, then you become a criminal because you are offering it for free to others to watch, right? Even for me, even if, for example, I'm paying for the for I don't want to say the name of that particular company because they're not paying me anything. So if you, for example, there's a or rather there's a broadcasting company that offers certain services to us, for example, like the UFC pay-per-views, WWE pay-per-views. Even if I'm paying for it and I'm watching it on TV, if I take my phone and I direct it at the television and I show it on my channel, that I become a criminal. That's why even when I stream, you don't see the fights themselves. You just see me and my commentary of the particular fight. You never see me personally. Like but again, you never see the fights like themselves. You just hear maybe in the background the fights playing in the background and my commentary. You will never see the fight. Like you'll never see me showing the fight because now I'm distributing the fight illegally, basically. So, I mean, you can go do your research, but I don't think it's a crime to just watch. As long as you're not sharing it with anyone and you're just watching, even if the stream is legal, as long as you're not sharing it with anyone, you're just watching it. It's not a crime as far as I know. But research that. Don't take my word for it, research that. Um, Shashwat Raj, me too, Rizlord. Shashwat Raj, how tall are you, brother? What's your weight? I'd say I'm 178 centimeters tall. I don't know how that works out in inches, or rather, I don't know how you guys measure that, but I'm 170. Yeah, 178. Weight, I haven't measured myself in a while, but I'm a little bit chubby. I've been working on some of the things that I'm eating. I've cut out sweets, I've cut out chocolates, I've cut out fizzy drinks, so I'm trying to start managing it. I'm not fat. I have a bit of a chest, but I'm not where I want to be. I have a bit of a belly fat, It jiggles when it's not that big, but it's not my ideal weight. But yeah, that's basically it. My height is like 170 something, nearly 180. I would assume. I don't know if I'm 180 centimeters at this point, but yeah, around that range. Rene, there is Lord. Are you saying they would do that? Can you repeat? I can't remember what I was talking about. What would they do? Can you please tell me? Shoshot McGee, is South African about to become Rhodesia or Zimbabwe 2.0? No. In Rhodesia and Zimbabwe, they were forcefully doing things like they were forcefully taking lands without compensation, number one. Number two, obviously, it's the sanctions. And I guess that's why the South African president went to the United States in order to somehow find a common ground and to somehow resolve matters so that it doesn't eventually get to the. Because I think Zimbabwe would have been successful if it was not sanctioned. The reason people like to make it seem like Zimbabwe suffered because they took the land from white people. No, that's not the reason why Zimbabwe suffered. Zimbabwe suffered because they were sanctioned, right? They were sanctioned. They couldn't do like their lands were basically useless because the people who are supposed to be buying their whatever resources that they have, basically didn't want to buy it because they were sanctioned basically. The only way you could take resources from Zimbabwe was illegally and maybe distribute it through another country or even legally. Maybe go to Zimbabwe and mine and mine and mine and mine or do whatever it is that you want to do. But Zimbabwe in itself as a country was sanctioned, so they were limited in trades. They were limited in various ways. So it's not because they took farmlands from white people. That's not the reason they were struggling. The reason they were struggling is because they were sanctioned. And any country will suffer. The United Kingdom today, if every single country sanctions the United Kingdom, it's going to be the same as Zimbabwe. Like irrespective of the resources you currently have, you can't get new like just research like what a sanction is. Any country, if any country is sanctioned, it's going to be like Zimbabwe. It's not exclusive to African countries only. Any country that any country that is sanctioned is going to be like Zimbabwe. That's basically it. So Zimbabwe did not become what it is because they took farmlands. No. They would have still been successful. There are farmers even now. Maybe obviously people might say, yeah, well, they learned over the years, so that's not a good argument. But still, the sanctions are the reason why Zimbabwe is what it is. I'm not sure about Rhodesia. I haven't researched enough about it. But Zimbabwe specifically, it's because of sanctions, not because they took land back. And then South Africa is different, at the very least of which a part of me doesn't agree because the land that these people have was taken forcefully. And I know some of them are like, well, I have a title deed, I bought it from someone else. But yeah, the person who sold you that land is someone who, when you trace it back, it was taken forcefully. And the mere fact that you can afford it is because so much wealth was given to a specific group of people and they never gave it back. That's why some opportunities are only available. So, for example, in South Africa, I'm going to speak about my legal field, but I'm sure a lot of South Africans face this particular issue. The legal field in South Africa, law in South Africa, as far as I know, is a scarce skill, right? But there's so many unemployed law graduates because the majority of law firms in South Africa are owned by white people. Specifically, okay, let me not specify, but they are owned by white people. And their requirements are usually you need to speak Afrikaans. So it's the Afrikaners who own a lot of the law firms in South Africa. And they specify that they need you to, number one, be able to speak their language. And number two, they require certain things that the majority of black South Africans do not have. Like, for example, you need to have your own car. You need to have like a variety of things. And sometimes it's not just your own car. It's also like it shouldn't have this many kilometers. So obviously, certain things, when you start to look at what their requirements are, and it's a strategic way of excluding and discriminating against the group of people. So basically, that's why in South Africa, law is a scarce skill, but you find law graduates who are unemployed. It's because of that. A specific group of people hire each other, or if they hire someone outside of their group, they need to know their language, and they need to be from a middle income household or a rich household. If you're not from that background, then you're not going to get a job, basically. So for me personally, I even digressed. The point that I was trying, what was the point that I was trying to make when I mentioned that particular point? I know I was speaking about Zimbabwe and the fact that South Africa is basically, okay, I'm going to remember. So the reason I was saying South Africa is not like Zimbabwe is because in South Africa is going to pay these people the value of their land. Oh, and I said, I honestly, a part of me does not agree with paying because it was taken forcefully, right? And the only way you are able to afford to buy not all of them, I'm not saying all of them, but the majority of them, the main reason why they're able to afford a certain thing and they get certain opportunities is because of the system that was created, which still benefits them, and the wealth is still in their hands. So a simple example is like imagine if black people in South Africa had the wealth and were hiring 80% or 90% black people only. How many white people do you think would have jobs? Right? Because that's what's happening. That's what the 7% are doing. They have the majority of the wealth, which is basically was distributed because of the inequality that was created by apartheid, the opportunities that were got. I know that some people will say, well, I worked for my money and that's how I was able to buy that particular land. That's because the system that exists still is discriminatory. That's why I made the example. Yeah, I forgot why I made that example, but now I remember. It's because the system is created to be discriminatory to a specific group of people. When I started this particular stream, I gave you guys statistics of the wealth in South Africa. 72% of the land in South Africa is owned by white people. 80% of farmlands is white people. Even wealth is basically the same numbers. So if like, the example I just made right now, if for example that same wealth was owned by black people and they were hiring 80, 90 or 95% only black people, do you think any other race would be thriving? No, because we would only be hiring our people only. So that's what white people are doing in South Africa, and they don't do it outrightly. What they do is they put legal barriers. Basically, they put legal barriers to say, okay, we're going to require 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We know the majority of people in this particular country do not have them, so it's going to limit the amount of this group of people who can afford to come to work for us. So that's part of the reason why I'm like, I don't agree with actually compensating for that. But the constitution says they have to compensate for taking that particular land. So even then, they're still complaining, even though they are going to be paid for whatever land that they are taking. And expropriation of land exists in every single country, I think. If there's a specific thing that exists, for example, let's say, actually, the president of South Africa made that example when he was with Trump. He was like, if the country wants to build a highway through a specific residence, they're going to actually expropriate that land, compensate that person, and build the road there, which is basically what is happening in South Africa. Just that in South Africa, it's a little bit different because it's for public benefit and obviously to benefit the people whose land was taken forcefully from them and was never returned during apartheid. That's basically what it means, and it's part of the legal system in South Africa. Brigadier, there is Lord. Dude, imagine a race war in South Africa. Nah, man, they wouldn't survive. Nah, it's not gonna happen. I think black people in South Africa are so loving. We are such a happy people. It's unfortunate because of the circumstances, and you see crime rates rising and everything like that. But the average South African is like me. It's someone who's relatable, someone who, I don't know, I feel like South Africans are really cool people. It's just the conditions that we live under that create some personalities that you are like, damn, dude, why? There are people, obviously, every country has criminals. That's not something exclusive to Africa. Every country has criminals and everything like that. But generally, the experience you're going to have when you come to South Africa is going to be exceptional. I don't know. For me personally, I don't see myself living anywhere else. If I ever leave South Africa, maybe I would consider moving to maybe Abu Dhabi, but or Dubai specifically. But I mean, It's expensive to live there, but that's the only other place I would consider living. So I love South Africa. I don't see myself ever leaving South Africa. That's why you see even white people who are offered the opportunity to come as refugees to the United States, only about 50 something took the opportunity. And in South Africa, there's like 2 million, is it Afrikaners? Let me just say around 2 million white people. Let me just say around 2 million white people. And out of that 2 million, only 51 people went. That just goes to show how much value there is in South Africa, not just for them, but also I feel like the country in itself. It's fun to live in South Africa. And as the channel grows, I promise you guys, I'm going to take you guys on trips around South Africa, the most amazing places in South Africa. I'll just do streams whereby I just show you parts of South Africa that are incredible, just so that I can do my part in just dispelling this idea that Africa is full of shacks or everywhere is just crime. I mean, crime exists and it is here and it's a problem, but like people outside are making it seem like you have to be afraid at every corner. And I live in a township, and like it's a nice township, man. Like that beautiful houses, I mean, it is what it is. But as the channel grows, I'll show you a different South Africa. It's very beautiful, and the people are amazing, right? Even though some of them are pretty crappy, like I just explained, but the majority. Are good. It's just unfortunate that a large proportion of South Africans are influenced by the United States. So anything wrong that happens in the United States is like a premonition for us. If something, like for example, when gay people were starting to be more open and everywhere, I'm not saying it's wrong, right? Everyone has the right to be who they want to be. But it started in the United States, and then after a few years in South Africa, it's basically the same thing, right? I'm not saying it's a wrong thing. I'm just saying whatever happens in the United States, it eventually gets adopted by South Africans, which is the sad part. But outside of that, I feel like South Africa has its own uniqueness, and I'll try to show you guys that as I grow on the channel. Shosha McGee, DDP on the front lines. Yeah, 100%. You can search. There's an early clip. I spoke about it a bit earlier on this particular stream. DDP is one of their leaders, man. He spoke about it before he became a champion. Obviously now he has to care about sponsors and everything. I'm sure they are going to say I'm better. I contacted Dracus du Plessis' team to actually get an interview, and they responded to me and they were like, we use this email only for paid promotions or paid partnerships. And I was like, no, I just want an interview. They're like, no, find another way to contact him or something to that effect. I was like, damn. So they're probably going to say, okay, this guy is better. We refused this interview, and now he's what's the name for talking badly about someone? He's disparaging Dracus du Plessis. Go check. I think it was an interview between him and Nina Drama. Go check. There's early in his career. I think he was 3 fights into the UFC, something like that. 3, 4 fights. I'm not particularly sure. And then he was speaking about, actually, you don't even have to go that far back. Immediately after Dracus du Plessis won the UFC championship, there were videos circulating in South Africa of Dracus du Plessis speaking about the white genocide. And I just proved that thing doesn't exist. There are no numbers to support that. There's not enough farm workers and farm owners dying on an annual basis to justify them calling this a genocide. To them, a genocide is the expropriation of land. That's genocide. They're like, why are they doing a constitutionally protected thing? That's genocide. That's what they define genocide as. It's in the Constitution. So they just using public pressure, and I think they succeeded. they use public pressure to force, and which is illegal basically. They are basically using Trump to prevent the president of South Africa from doing something that's constitutionally protected. I mean, I guess it's allowed if if it's a specific group of people doing it. Apartheid all over again. Rene, there is lot. 178 equals 510 inches. Yeah, somewhere around there. But I remember being 176 like years ago. And I was a little bit younger, so I'm probably a little bit taller now. But I'd say 5'10 is probably maybe a bit more accurate, I think. I'm not sure. Rene, there is Lord. No YouTube. No, YouTube must have deleted my comment when you were talking when you were talking about the poison that the farmers could do after being told to leave. No, I'm not saying they would do it. I'm saying unless they do that. I get the question you asked was, do I think the South Africans would suffer if all the farmers left? And I was like, no. Similar to the example I made in the legal field, I was like, if all the lawyers in South Africa decide they are going to leave, we take all the law graduates, we partner them with receptionists or paralegals who have been working in those particular law firms. The paralegals will teach the law graduates, and the law graduates will then connect their legal knowledge from school with the experience of the paralegal. And then after a year, 2, 3 years maybe, we have fully fledged attorneys. Similar with the farm industry. You take the farm workers, you partner them with agriculture or whatever it is, graduates, and then the farm workers teach the graduates some aspects of farming, and they connected, the graduates connected with the knowledge they have from school, and after a couple of years of that, and we can bring in an expert who's going to basically give out a bit of experience and advise to, it's not like farmers only exist in South Africa, and it's not like we are the only people on the planet who have farmers. Even if what I'm saying is not possible, we can import farmers the same way. If there's a lack of skill in South Africa, we import someone who has that skill, and they assist the country with their skill. So if ever my strategy is not necessarily feasible, we import a couple of farmers to maybe train and maybe mentor the agricultural graduates or something like that. And then once they feel like, well, okay, they have the hang of things, then they can take over. Like, it's such a dumb idea. The only way South Africa struggles is through sanctions or mismanagement of funds of the country, which is partially happening, but at least now I think it's a little bit better. But yeah, South Africa's not gonna struggle because white people decided to leave. No, that's not gonna happen. I mean, they are implying that we're so stupid, we don't have skills to actually do what they do. Imagine how arrogant that is. Rene, there is a lot. What is Afrikaans? Is that the native language there? No. South Africa is a crazy place, guys. So in South Africa, we have 11 official languages plus sign language, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. 11 official languages, and Afrikaans is part of them, right? But if you came to South Africa, you would think the official languages are like maybe 5, maybe. At the top of the list, even though it's an African country, because they control the money, their language is what's more prevalent in the country. At the top of the list, it's English. I think it's followed by Afrikaans. Then isiZulu, or isiZulu is number 2. I think isiZulu is number 3. Then isiXhosa. And then I think Setswana, which is my language. And then comes a couple of other languages after that. So the top 5 is that. So the Afrikaans language is basically a localized Dutch language, basically. It's Dutch, I get in South Africa, the first colonizers, was it the English? No, I think it was the Roman Dutch. Yeah, I think it was the Dutch, something like that. The Romans and the Dutch. I forgot. I studied this in university. It was part of history. I didn't care too much about that history. But I think that the first people who colonized South Africa, I think, were the Dutch. The English, I think, came later to just finalize, or rather to just take over some aspects. But I think the initial people who colonized South Africa were Dutch people. So basically, the Afrikaners are the descendants. So somehow they created their own language. Um, yeah, they created their own language basically, and they called it Afrikaners. But it's basically, I'm sure Dutch people can understand the Afrikaners because it's basically Dutch, maybe with a bit of different words, maybe, and slang, I guess. Reluctant killer, shut up. Okay. Shoshat McGee. It seems the problem in South Africa seems to be close to America. The big corporations own the government and put the people against each other. I would say that that's a somewhat not accurate, but I would say I would be inclined to actually agree with that analysis. However, the problem in South Africa is what I've been saying throughout this whole stream. White people make up 7% of the entire population of the country, and they own the majority, around 70, 80% of the wealth in South Africa. And the sad part is not only do they own this particular wealth, they do things in a legal way, or they hide it. It's not legal, in my opinion, it's not legal. If they are challenged in the constitutional court, they are going to lose. But they do things strategically to exclude a specific group of people from benefiting from that particular wealth. If, for example, the example I made a bit earlier, they tell you you need to know their language, which is Afrikaans, in order to work for them. I'm talking specifically about my field, the legal field. They tell you you need to know how to speak Afrikaans. They tell you you need to have a car. Some even say it shouldn't have more than this many kilometers in order to work for us, right? When you take into consideration, they have the majority of the wealth. When you take into consideration the majority of the poor people in South Africa, in fact, the highest number of poor people in South Africa are black people. I think 7.5%, 7.8, actually 8% of white people are the ones who are employed. So out of 100%, imagine. So that means 92% of white people in South Africa are employed, right? Only 8% of them are unemployed. So based on that stat, you know that a specific group of people, the majority of black people, will not come from houses that know how to speak Afrikaans, because in order for you to know how to speak Afrikaans, you need to go to certain schools, not just private schools. There are public schools, but that are a little bit further from where a lot of black people live. So it's only a certain few, a limited few black people who can afford to take their kids to that, even if it's a public school, but that's where they teach Afrikaans. If you didn't take your kids to a school that speaks Afrikaans, then you are fucked. Because unless if you are smart enough to actually find a way to succeed, even without working for Afrikaners or white people in general, then you are in a lot of deep ish, in all honesty. I don't know why I'm saying ish. You are in a lot of deep shit, in all honesty. Because they require you to know their language in order to work for them, which is honestly sad. I don't want to lie. So I don't think the problem. Oof, I'm becoming very invisible. It's getting dark, guys. I have to go home. So the problem in South Africa is not that the people. Obviously, it's part of it. The corporations have the money and are controlling the government. But in this particular situation, it's basically the people who have the money saying we don't want to share, and when they are forced to share, they run to Trump and say they are making us share, even though it's legal, we don't want to. And then Trump is like, yeah, they shouldn't be sharing. And then because the world is watching, the country cannot share now because it's going to be like, yeah, they're still doing genocide, even though there's no numbers to support what they're saying. So that's the problem in South Africa. Short McGee, I mean, there was fought over the lands. It's not cool, but never, but every country is formed on stolen land. Name a country that has the same people for the last 5,000 years. The thing is, if it wasn't part of the constitution, what you're saying would make sense, right? It would be South Africans being unreasonable. What the government and what the president is doing is something that's in the constitution. Section 25 of the constitution allows for the expropriation of land. So it's not something that is being made up. It was created. Unfortunately, a lot of other constitutions around the world do not have this element. But I mean, China is doing it. China obviously owns the majority of everything, if not everything. And then they allow their people to use them in order to make money. But China also benefits from them, right? So in South Africa, I mean, every single country to some extent, but South Africa specifically, because of what happened in the past, it was inserted in the constitution. Some constitutions don't have that. And obviously, if your constitution doesn't have that and you try to expropriate land, then it's illegal, right? But in South Africa, it's in the constitution. It's the same as the right to freedom of speech for us. It's the same as the right to freedom of speech. Renier, there is lot. It's in the ancient scriptures, bro. It's in the ancient scriptures, my guy. Renier, there is lot. God said, Shoshat McGee, not even the Swij clan 5,000 years ago that has to tell you something. Renier, there is Lord. Don't they claim 2,000? What 2,000? They say there's only 2,000 white people in South Africa. That's laughable. I hope that's a joke. Shoshot McGee, 3,000. What? Of course. What? Shoshot McGee, what are you typing? Renee, there is a lot. Alright then, little bro. If you are gonna insult my boy Slugfest, then I'm gonna become a Zionist. Shoshot McGee, yeah, 3,000. 3,000 years ago is a long time. Renee, there is a lot. It was promised to them. Wow. Shoshot McGee. So it must be how it's written. Renee, there is a lot. Can you speak Zulu Ank? A little bit, but my mom is of Xhosa and Zulu descendant. But my dad was Tswana. I grew up in a Tswana area. So I normally speak Setswana, specifically Spitori, which is a Pretoria version of Setswana, which mixes a variety of languages. Yeah, basically that's it. But my home language is Setswana, so I can try to speak a bit of Zulu, but I would sound very white trying to do that. But I can understand it. I can understand maybe 70% of it. But speak it, maybe some sentences that I've practiced, I can say them perfectly. But conversationally, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can. Shoshot McGee, look into the Dutch and where the first bank was formed and who formed it. John Hudson, you are very misinformed. You cannot colonize if you don't form a colony. The Dutch fled here and started a new life. The British came and colonized it. I'm telling you about misinformation that was provided by universities, I guess. John Hudson. Renier the Riz Lord, every Stein, Singleberg, time fit what? John Hudson and turned it into a British colony. What are you talking about? The John Hudson? We have 141 laws like BE that make it harder for people that are not black. And yet you still have the majority of the wealth, John Hudson, right? And John Hudson, okay, let me not say that. Charlotte McGee got kicked out of Spain and went to Amsterdam and started the Dutch Trade Company. Renier the Reslot, no, stop noticing. Charlotte McGee, Dutch East Indian Trading Company. Amsterdam was the first bank to mix copper with silver coins. Charlotte McGee, biggest inflation in recorded history. Renier the Reslot, why do coins have ridges? Renier the Reslot, okay, I'm gonna stop. What did that even mean? Charlotte McGee, hello. Moni's phone, would you rather watch A3? Okay, John Hudson left too early. I unfortunately didn't see his comments and I can't even respond to him properly. But if he's saying I'm misinformed, maybe I need to go back to my books. You know, the thing about me is on this particular topic, this stream was not going to be about colonization. And I did point out that there are a couple of things that I might have forgotten from my law education. I didn't care that much about the history. And even my my lectures gave us an assignment and told us to write something we agree or disagree with as far as South African history. And what I said was, I hate the fact that history makes colonization look like it was necessary for us to have the kind of legal system we have today. Without colonization, we wouldn't have the kind of legal system we have, and therefore we need to be grateful to colonization. And I got a distinction for that. So, in all honesty, my guy, whoever you are, Hudson, I don't give a shit about history, especially as it relates to apartheid. I hope you understand that. I honestly don't give a shit, to be honest. Please internalize that. I don't care about your history. So yeah, that's basically it. If for example there are points that I got wrong, I don't give a shit. I'm sorry. Moniz, why are you gay? Wow. Shoshat McGee, Moniz farts when he sneezes. History is gay. Shoshat is gay. Moniz sits when he pees. Shoshat McGee, let me actually give. It actually decreases. You can Google this. It decreases the possibilities of prostate cancer, if I'm not mistaken. Peeing while sitting down. I know it sounds gay, but research it. For if a guy pees sitting down, it decreases the possibility for prostate cancer. Once again, research this. I'm not a doctor. You can research it for yourself. Don't listen to what I'm saying. This is information I have. Go verify it before you accept it as fact. But yeah, so this concludes this particular stream. I didn't think it would be this long. Yeah, Shoshat McGee, similar to what I was saying about the streamers and watching illegal streams, the viewer, as far as I know, is not the criminal. The person sharing the stream is the criminal, right? So if you're sharing the stream, you are the criminal. But the person who's watching that particular stream, as far as I know, is not the criminal. However, research this, don't listen to what I'm saying. Make sure that you research before you start saying things confidently and say, yeah, Slugfest said it. Slugfest said it. No. Go research it for yourself. But the viewer, as far as I know, is not the criminal. The person supplying the stream is the criminal. Similar with peeing while sitting down. If you pee while sitting down, as far as I know, it decreases the possibility of prostate cancer. So maybe I'm lying. Maybe my sources are not accurate. All I can say is double check, research, and find out for yourself. Right? Shoshat McGee, mind blown. Moniz, you are the criminal. Wow. Shoshat McGee, I'm leaving on this note. John is a duck. Okay, man. Renee the Rizla, the gooning also decreases prostate cancer, right? I don't know. I've heard something like that. I can't verify that. Just that the thing about the streaming and everything like that, I remember reading it somewhere. But the gooning part, I don't know. But I remember hearing something to that effect. But once again, make sure you research everything that I just said. Don't just take it as gospel and then you end up being wrong, right? Joshua McGee, John equals duck. Renee the is Lord. John equals clown. Damn. Renee the is Lord. John equals. Okay. I'm not going to start. Guys, I wanted to say the daily parties, but no. Goodwill. John Jones' legacy is already secured and doesn't Tom Aspinall whatsoever. Okay. Hey, Blue Eyes. Okay, guys. Even though I was speaking about politics, this is an MMA channel. Some of you might hate me because of some of the things I said. In all honesty, I want to be myself, you know? I want to be myself on this channel, and I'm not going to allow myself to be influenced by what other people want me to be. So if you hate me, I mean, that's unfortunate. But if you love MMA, this is the channel to be. I live stream fights every single week. I've been very consistent. I'm really proud of myself. I live stream, like the live streams are my favorite part of this particular channel. I do, like, a lot of the things I do on my channel is normally work. It's work. But the streams, even though I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm exhausted, the streams feel like I'm watching fights with my friends, you know? These two idiots in the comment section, Shoshat McGee and Renee the Rizlord, make it fun for me. Obviously, there are others. Tweezy Rich sometimes joins the stream. Squid sometimes. Shashwa Daraj. There are a couple of people who join, but the people who consistently never miss a live stream, Renee the Rizlord and Shoshat McGee, they make it really, really fun. That's why I can easily call them idiots, because they know I don't mean it in a malicious way. Um, so even when it's just them, the two of them on the stream, I don't mind, because ultimately the reason I do watch alongs is because it feels like I'm watching the UFC with my friends. So I'd like to extend the invitation to anyone who enjoys watching UFC. Join the watch alongs. If you're new to the channel, go to the video section, short section, community section, even the live section. There's a lot of information here. Once again, this is an MMA channel. I just spoke about politics because it affects my country, and it might influence the UFC potentially ever coming to South Africa. So I love and appreciate all of you. Okay, let me respond to you guys before I bounce. Charlotte McGee, mom's getting hit again. Wow. Moniz phone, John Jones is Charlotte McGee's stepdaddy. Wow. Moniz phone, Islam versus Habib, who wins? I'd say Habib. I think Habib would be able to take down Islam. Islam Makhachev. And Islam Makhachev himself has basically admitted to losing to Habib a lot of time in training. So I'd say Habib. Moniz Habib versus Jones. Who's the GOAT? Based on title fights, I'd say, and legacy wise, I'd say obviously John Jones. John Jones is the GOAT. Unfortunately, the things that he's doing right now are not GOAT like, but I think he's actually the GOAT. Shoshat McGee, Moniz never had a daddy and wished his mom didn't give him so many uncles. What? Shoshat McGee, we are idiots. Yeah, you guys are insane. Like, listen to the things that you just said. Like, how can I not call you that? Moniz phone, Islam versus Habib, who wins? I think I just answered that. Habib versus Jones. I think I answered that. Rene, there is a lot. Shoshat McGee. Is wild. I remember he had a 40 comment long argument with someone over Hamzat versus Remember there is lot. The other person was Daniel Brooks. Yeah, I remember. Oh yeah, Shoshat McGee. Shoshat McGee came onto the channel. Shoshat McGee came onto the channel Bila Bila while trolling Daniel Brooks. I remember. I remember. Rene the Rizlan, the greatest underdog. Shoshat McGee told me to go through pics, so I did, and they were as bad as mine. Wow. Rene the Rizlan, 10K betting slave. Brooks is the OG coin flip. He must never find out you are saying this about him, dude. Like, he wouldn't be happy. Rene the Rizlan, that's right, you went through that dude's pigs and roasted the shit when you were wrong. Shoshat Mickey is insane. I actually forgot how he became part of the channel. I remember him just going through every single comment from Daniel Brooks, and I was like, why is this guy doing this? And then now, look, I mean, that's why I never block anyone on the channel. Because look at the people, even Rene the Rizlord was saying terrible things to me initially, and I think he turned a new leaf. And now he watches streams with me every single fight card. Guys, I have to leave, guys. I love and appreciate all of you. Even if there's 6 of you online, even if there was only 2 of you, know that I appreciate you guys. I want to increase the numbers and reach thousands. But even if I stream for the next 2 years, okay, I don't want to stream to, like for years only to 2 people. But what I'm saying is, even if it's just 2 people online, I still appreciate you guys. It means more to me, because you're taking out your time. There's so many streamers, a lot bigger than me. People like MMA Guru, who stream regularly. Who's the guy? Lucas Tracy. MMA Joey. Like, there are so many other people you could go to just for watch-alongs and anything else. And you still choose to actually go through that shit with me, and I appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, like and subscribe. Share. Once again, this is an MMA channel. I was just ranting about politics because they affect me as a South African and as an MMA fan. Thank you for joining me. We'll see each other next week when I do breakdowns for the upcoming card. The co-main event, I think the co-main event should have been the main event, and the main event should have been the co-main event, but it is what it is. See you guys next week. I love and appreciate all of you. Until then, deuces.